Today, we're looking at a black ink by Monteverde Midnight Black. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, there's timestamps down below so that you can skip around to the parts you're most interested in, or if you watch the whole thing, I'd appreciate you. You can follow me on Instagram, and if you're new here and like fountain pen inks as much as I do, I would invite you to subscribe. In order to make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples. I then inked up this Pilot Metropolitan with a 1.0 stub, wrote with it for a day, and used it to take the notes for this video. In order to standardize some of my writing samples, I always use Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper for all of the inks. I do use other papers, and some of those will show up later in the video. Now, let's look at the writing sample. I picked this ink up in sample form, so it came in a vial like this. And to keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at the Clairfontaine. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is a little bit lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 10 seconds to dry. Medium is about the same tone as the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 15 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation, and we didn't get any. Tomoe River with no bleeding, normal Tomoe River ghosting. The 1.1 is no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is a little bit lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 16 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 25 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show no color variation, and there is none. And Rhodia, no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1, no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is a little bit lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 12 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade, 16 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation, and there was none. I agree with Vita that there's a lot to be learned by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it in the water for 10 to 15 seconds. And looking at this should be one of the blackest I've ever seen of black inks. It's got a very nice dark green at the bottom. That's mixed with a purple that comes in, and then a dark magenta at the top. Now that's what we see here. The one on the right that I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water. This is really interesting and shows why this is a worthwhile thing to do. That green really got in, really formed a line, is not budging. It's showing us what's going to try and be the permanent aspect of this ink. Now the green pushes up. What was just a purple before, we now see is actually a blue and a dark purple. So we see that there's not a ton of the dark purple, so it looks a little watered down, and we get the blue, the purple, and then a magenta on top. Really incredibly complex mix here. Should be the blackest of blacks you've ever seen. It's not. Resistance tests are done to see how well this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it might be to clean from your pen. I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, it handles itself perfectly well to be highlighted over in a note-taking situation. Although there is a little bit of feathering and blurriness that occurs, you can easily read everything that's there. Water is only lifting a little bit of this ink. It's really quite strange. It's not doing a whole lot to get rid of it. That yellowish next to the H2O, that's not water. That's spillage from the bleach, from when I was sopping it up with the paper towel. The pen flush is doing a whole lot more than water did, and it's really starting to just break down, and you see a light gray being broken down. Now, I did have to use pen flush to get this out of my pen. I did not need 1/3 bleach solution. If you needed it, it does completely remove it from the paper very quickly. That's only 30 seconds that it was there. Just make sure that you immediately flush your pen with water so you don't rust your metal bits. For the inks I've tested, I have found an average viscosity of 2.5. with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Now I'm going to link a video where I show how I test it and how I calculate the data. Monteverde's Midnight Black has a viscosity of 1.3, making this a very wet ink. To find my average dry times, I use my writing samples done on Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. I average those, and for the inks I've tested, I found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with a realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Monteverde's Midnight Black has an average dry time of 16 seconds, so despite it being very wet, its dry time is normal. Instead of finding inks that look like Monteverde's Midnight Black, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. I really wanted to put a nice magenta with this, and I chose Robert Oster's Claret. The second writing sample is done on Apica CD, black and red, and Franklin Christoph paper. Here we're looking at the Apica CD notebook. Now we get no bleeding and no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is a little bit lighter than the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 9 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 12 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show no color variation, and we didn't get it in the writing. Black and red notebooks. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is lighter than the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 7 seconds to dry. Medium is same tone as the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 10 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation, and we didn't get any. Last up is Franklin Christoph, with no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is lighter than the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 7 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 9 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it, and we didn't get it. And that is all that I have for the writing samples. So what do I think of Monteverde's Midnight Black? It definitely makes the writing experience feel a little bit smoother using this ink. Now, there's some color variation depending on what pen you put it into. There's really no shading that goes on. But I do find, quite honestly, that a lot of times the black it puts down is a little lighter than I would prefer as my black. I would prefer a deep, dark, rich black. So what nib and pen are going to give the best writing experience with this ink? I found that you need to use a wet pen, regardless of nib size, to make sure that you go ahead and get a nice dark black. Anything other than a very wet pen, and the black looks a little grayish. If you've enjoyed this video, remember, I like thumbs up, you like thumbs up, everybody likes thumbs up. Unless you didn't like it, then give me the thumbs down. Both are good. Thanks for watching.